Well, thank you very much for coming, Dimitri. It's certainly an honor to have you guys here. Can we tell our audience a little bit more about the switches and obviously about the splitters and stuff? And also sort of a little background about Luminex.
Yeah, for sure. So Luminex is basically a young Belgian company that makes AV networking really easy. Basically what we have is our range exists out of switches, Ethernet to Dmx converters and Dmx RDM splitters. And the whole cool part about switches is that it's a set of fully pre-configured switches for any AV application. I mean, lighting, audio, video can all travel over the same switch, and you don't need a degree in IT to configure it.
Well, we've seen that whole switch between IT and AV. You know, all our AV clients are now sort of starting to take that switch. So actually the guys that have invested in it have really loved it and found it really easy. What would you recommend these AV guys that are a little more hesitant to go into that IT side?
Yeah, well, it's a question we get really often, because of course if you don't have a degree in IT and you have to start configuring a switch, it can be very difficult. So what we did is exactly take that worry away by pre-configuring it all, and not only pre-configuring it, but for most of it validating it. We validate, we test with all other brands out there like Yamaha, Shure, Bose. Also for the lighting we have MA Lighting, Robi. Well, all the big manufacturers we actually validate with. So the good part is that you can use this confidently, even if you don't have a degree in IT.
Nice, awesome. So these guys are sort of coming in board, they're plugging in and they're setting up and making their lives a lot easier. Is that sort of what it is?
Yeah, everybody wants to work with the lighting desk or the audio desk, but not working on the infrastructure, right? So that's what we do exactly, just make it plug and play, so they don't need to worry and they have time to be creative.
Well, the software side is really attractive, and the GUI that you guys made is just so simple for people. Can you kind of like explain to us a little more in detail about the GUI and how the lighting guys can actually see the switches and all that configuration?
Definitely, we will definitely dive into the GUI in a moment. So what you already see here, just from the outside and from the hardware, is that you see some different colors here, right? That's actually how you separate your applications. The different colors represent different groups. So for example, if you have a red light, you can use that, for example, for audio, the green group for lighting, and maybe another group for intercom or video or whatever your application is. So maybe I will just connect my computer and we'll dive into the GUI right away.
Awesome, cool.
So I just have my computer here and I will plug it into the switch. And then we have our free software called LumiNet Monitor. When I just double click on it, the application will open and automatically it will show all the network devices that are in the network at the moment. So what we see on the right here is the GigaCore 10. That's exactly the switch where I'm connected to. If I just click on it, it shows the IP address, and if I double click on it, it opens in my web browser. So there's no magic to it, it's just popping up and showing up. There it is. What you see is immediately you see an overview of the switch itself. So you see here 4 connectors, which are ports 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 slots for rugged fiber, optional, and then on the back you see another 4 ports, 5, 6, 7, 8. So basically what you need to do as a user is only dive into the group page where you actually separate your applications. We talked about a pre-configured switch, well here it is. So first you have a group called ISL, Inter-Switch Link, the link between the switches that will carry all the information from front of house to stage, or from a server room to a conference room or whatever. So basically you just select the group, so 0, click on the ports where you want to have it connect, where you want to have your inter-switch link, and you actually configured it. So all your information, your lighting, your audio, your video, will be bundled and sent over the inter-switch link to the other side. The cool part is that there is a built-in redundancy system. So if you connect 2 switches to each other, it automatically creates a redundant path. So if one link fails, the other one takes over in about 20 milliseconds, which is very fast and cannot be achieved with an IT switch actually. So and then you have all the other groups. So you have the management group, where you which the name itself says it, management. So you need to be connected with your computer to a management group. That's why, by default, all the groups are in the management group. So you just plug in anywhere. And then basically we have all the other pre-configured groups. We have groups for Dante, Milan. So Milan is actually AVB, but the next step in AVB actually. So ArtNet, streaming ACN, intercoms, whatever. You just click on the port where you want it, press assign. Let's say I have a Yamaha console, I want to plug it in on port 3, and it's done. What you also see immediately, if I configure a group, you automatically see the LED turning to the respective color. So you see exactly, okay, that's my port for Dante. Of course, under the hood there's a lot of things happening. So all this IT stuff where you normally need to program is already pre-configured, and it's right there in the advanced, where you don't need to be actually a user. So you see you can rapidly set up an AV network, converge network, lighting, audio, video in just a few seconds actually. And last but not least, you also have a profile page. So for example, if you are a rental company and you have your default setup, let's say that this is the default setup, you call it rental 1, okay, now it's there. Well, if you sub-rent it and it would come back and the configuration is completely changed, you can just recall this, or we also build in a function where if you reset the switch, it will go back to the first profile. So it comes back from a job, you reset them, it's back in your standard and default configuration, which also is not working with an IT switch. If you do that with an IT switch, you have to start from scratch again. So basically that's the GUI, and it's really easy. Okay, so basically we're back at LumiNet Monitor, the free software where you can see all the network devices. Now I'm connected to the Ethernet to Dmx Converter. What is that? It's actually just basically a system or a unit that converts Ethernet to Dmx. So you have a lighting console that's talking ArtNet, streaming ACN, and you have lighting fixtures that need Dmx to be fed. So the lighting desk talks ArtNet or streaming ACN, lighting fixture talks Dmx, somewhere this needs to be translated, right? So that's exactly what the Ethernet to Dmx converters do. They translate ArtNet or streaming ACN to Dmx. So it also has a web interface to be controlled. And again, by just double clicking on the IP address, you get connected to the web interface. See? So how to set it up? Just go to setup. Node 1 is just for the first 4 ports. Node 2 is for the port 5, 6, 7, 8. So we just click on node 1. Do you see here? It's a bi-directional splitter. So you can either go from Dmx to ArtNet or streaming ACN, or from streaming ACN or ArtNet to Dmx. So from an IP protocol to an analog protocol, or the other way around. So let's say we just want to output Dmx. So you just say, okay, I want to output Dmx. I want ArtNet to be converted to Dmx. And you just put in the universe number. If your console is sending out ArtNet universe 1, you just say, okay, ArtNet universe 1. If it's 5, you just say 5. Okay? The mode is on normal, which means it's just normally putting out Dmx. And then there's some interesting stuff. So you can go into merging mode. If you have, for example, 2 consoles that need to control the same lighting fixtures, like in a theater, where you have a house console, but there's a group coming in with their own console and doing the show. Of course, they need to be able to control the lighting fixtures. So there you have 2 standard modes, HTTP, the ones who are sending out the highest values, highest stakes precedence, or LTP, the ones that sending out the latest values, has control over the lighting fixtures. Or you can go even much further, and that's where the strength from Luminex definitely kicks in. We have a custom merge mode. Don't be afraid, there will be a lot on the screen, but here's just where you configure an IP source 1, for example the house console, and IP source 2, the touring console that came in. If you then show table, here actually all the 512 Dmx channels kick in, and you can actually start merging or putting some rules on each channel. So let's say that, for example, the first 30 lights or 30 channels of the theater are the lights for the bar, right? So no need for the touring console to control the lights of the bar. So what you can say, for example, is this merging mode S1 only, source 1 only. So which means that actually that channel can only be controlled through the host console. What you can also do is, for example, make a crossfade channel. X-fade, crossfade between sources. So from the moment the show starts, the host console can say, okay, I put on maximum value and now I crossfade to control to IP source 2. So which means that at that moment IP source 2 gets control of all the other channels. There are a bunch of merging modes which most of them speak for themselves. Source 1 only, source 2 only, source 1 as a backup, source 2 as a backup, crossfade between sources. An HTTP limit and LTP limit is actually made for TV studios. Because if you're having a live show and there's a very enthusiastic lighting director or putting out very high values on the background light, that would not be a good show on television. So you could just even configure with the node, you can say, okay, I want to limit this, so even if it goes full on, you just can have, for example, maximum 30% of output value. So that's basically a lot of rules that you can set up with the system very easily, actually. Also very interesting is that it supports RDM. RDM stands for Remote Device Management. So normally, if you want to change the address of a lighting fixture, you have to physically go there and change it with the buttons. But if a lighting fixture is actually intelligent, it can talk back to the system, and you can do it remotely. Just from sitting here, I can control and configure all the lighting. In our free software LumiNet monitor, we see here RDM devices. That's where actually all the lighting fixtures will show up, and you can control them from there. So that's basically the Ethernet to Dmx converter. Very easily, very powerful, bi-directional, and you can set up so many merging modes ideally for your application.